My name is Mark, and I have something to tell you, and you have something to tell someone. Each episode has a prompt and a topic that I want you to take to your journal, or text it to a friend, or answer it on social media using the hashtag something to tell you. This is a show about digging deeper and sharing our stuff. I'll go first. Today's question: are you lonely? Loneliness is the most underrated yet greatest killer of young people. This is because it feels like a weird subject to talk about. How can one say they are lonely yet there is so much that is supposed to fuel someone so that they don't feel lonely? There are such things as hobbies, clubs, sports, churches, community events that are supposed to put us into contact with people, and more so, likely-minded people. And of course, not forgetting the internet, the greatest connector of all, makes it easier to have more than 1,000 people in our screens and in our pockets. And yet, you hear people whispering that they're profoundly lonely. To make matters worse, some never actually admit it. They talk themselves out of how they feel because they don't know what to call it, because they don't want to use the word lonely. Loneliness is a feeling we get when our need for social contact and relationships is not met. But loneliness is not the same as being lonely, because you can choose to be alone and still be happy. Or you may have many social contacts, be in a relationship, or even be in a family where everyone has known you your whole life and still be lonely. Especially if you don't feel cared for by the people you have around and understood. We are meant to connect with one another, and if we fail to connect, that's when we feel lonely. It feels as though as we grow up, we are supposed to sort of harden our hearts and never complain about petty things that are bothering us, like loneliness. There is societal shame to loneliness. It's like it's a thing for the losers. Successful people are not supposed to feel lonely. I mean, how do you? It is seen as an abomination for a rich girl or boy to admit that they are lonely, because they have a lot of friends and family and they can get everything they want in life. So they somehow lose the right to complain or even admit about being lonely. And yet, they're not so far away from feeling disconnected, from the feelings of not belonging to a particular group. Like no one is reaching out for them, like no one understands them, like they miss someone who is not around. They're not so far away from those feelings as well. And that's loneliness, and it can affect one's mental health. Loneliness is caused by a number of things. For instance, going through a breakup, experiencing a bereavement, retiring from work, among other things that I have already put on my social media handle if you want to read for more information. I'm gonna tell you about a time I was really lonely and what I did to get out of it. As you answer this prompt in your journal, or with your best friend, or on social media using the hashtag something to tell you, take the variation to when did you feel lonely? Was it when you moved or joined university? Was it when you experienced a great loss? Or is it even now? I do understand that this is a more vulnerable topic, that you'd probably not want to answer this one on social media, but privately. But I also do think that this is one of those topics where we assume that we are the only ones. And until someone shares their stories really make an impact in our lives. So I'm going to share mine. During the time when I was really lonely, when I felt really lonely. The first time I ever felt lonely really was when I separated with my girlfriend. I had a very beautiful person that I thought I was dating. You know, it's kind of difficult nowadays because you can't think that you're dating someone, but they are not dating you. But in my opinion, I was dating them, and I was really happy during that time because for the very first time I was able to connect with someone, and I was able to love someone so deeply, because I had never before that time been able to feel so close to someone and connect with them and be able to be in sync with them. At least on my part, that's what I thought. But then later on, things turned out to be different, that I was the only one feeling like that, and it messed me up. So when things were called off, it became difficult for me to deal with the loss. And so I I tried so much because for me, I'm someone who wants to talk about my problems. I'm someone who wants to be to be able to express myself with other people. But during that particular time, I discovered that I actually had no one to speak with. I mean, on that matter, because I actually thought that there is no one that is going to be able to understand what I'm going through. Make no mistake, I have a lot of people. At school, I was really very famous. Famous in the sense that almost everyone knew me because of a peculiar behavior, maybe because I always put on shorts, and I always put on shorts like literally every day. And so everyone knew that guy that puts on shorts, and I was able to speak to almost everybody that came to me. But when I was facing that hardship, I wasn't able. I had no one to speak with. And so I confided in myself. And for the first time in my life, I felt very, very lonely. The thing I did that helped me out of this situation, actually did it because I knew that there was nothing that is going to take away the pain that I lost the person that I loved most. But I wanted something that can at least help me to deal with, to get used living with the pain. So I started to journal. I started to keep a daily everything that I went through during that time. Slowly, every day, I was able to get used to the pain, because writing kind of puts some structure and organization to the pain, or everything that you're facing. You can be able to deal with it, because there is a lot of pain that comes with that kind of loss. Because first of all, you start to kind of blame yourself, feel less confident. You start to feel like you're not enough, like you do not matter, unlovable. But when you start to write down those things, everything that you feel, it kind of starts to make you see and look at things in perspective, and then you can start to find a solution slowly by slowly. Loneliness basically comes from the point where you feel like you don't belong anywhere. You feel like you don't belong to a particular group. The friends that you think you love, or the friends that you think love you, you don't feel like you belong with them. It's always about belonging. It feels good to know that you're not just loved, but liked. I don't know where you're listening and watching me from and what your circumstances are, but I do think it's important that we check in on ourselves and our relationships. Are we lonely? Is it something we can change? Or does it require serious explaining for us to meet up, or just a simple let's meet up for help? Lastly, of the things I have to tell you today, whatever your thoughts are on your former or current state of loneliness, the whole point of something to tell you is to either share privately or with a trusted friend, or on social media using the hashtag something to tell you. I do want you to think of this prompt, a needing connection. And I want you to reach out to someone you suspect to be lonely for some reason, or even yourself, and maybe you're missing someone. Tell them you're missing them. Tell them you're thinking about them, that you'd love to get together soon. And I know it will be good for both of you.